although for the most part altogether unconscious of it, man glides by the whole of his life in the thick of a vast and populous unobserved world. During sleep or in trance, if the insistent physical senses are for the time in abeyance, this other world is to some extent opened to him, and he will occasionally bring back from those circumstances more or less faint memories of what he has encountered and heard there. The beginning point which it is essential to make clear in describing this astral plane is its downright reality. I am utilizing the word in its plain, day-to-day sense, and I mean by it that the objects and inhabitants of the astral plane are genuine in precisely the same way as our own bodies, our pieces of furniture, our homes are real. They'll no more endure forever than will objects on the physical plane, but they're nevertheless realities from our viewpoint while they last, realities which we can't afford to ignore simply because the majority of humanity is as yet unconscious of their existence. The astral region which I'm to try to describe is the second of these planes of nature, the next above or inside that physical world with which we're all familiar. It has frequently been called the realm of illusion, not that it's itself any more elusive than the physical world, but as of the extreme unreliableness of the impressions returned from it by the untrained seer. This is to be accounted for chiefly by two remarkable features of the astral world. First, that a lot of its inhabitants have a fantastic power of changing their forms, and also of casting practically inexhaustible glamour over those with whom they choose to sport, and second, that sight on that plane is a faculty really dissimilar from and much more extended than physical vision. An object is viewed, as it were, from all sides at one time, the interior of a solid being as plainly open to the view as the exterior. It's therefore obvious that an ignorant visitor to this new world might well find considerable trouble in understanding what he truly does see, and still more in transforming his vision into the very inadequate language of ordinary speech. He has to learn not only to see properly but to transform the memory of what he has seen precisely from one plane to the other, and to assist him in this he's trained to carry his consciousness without break from the physical plane to the astral or devacanic and back once more, for till that may be done there's always a possibility that his recollections might be partially lost or distorted during the blank time interval which separates his periods of awareness on the assorted planes. The first introduction to this noteworthy region comes to individuals in assorted ways. A few only once in their whole lives under some strange influence become sensitive enough to recognize the presence of one of its inhabitants, and maybe, because the experience doesn't repeat itself, they might come in time to trust that on that occasion they must have been the victims of hallucination. Other people find themselves with increasing frequency seeing and hearing something to which those around them are blind and deaf. Other people again, and maybe this is the commonest experience of all, start to recollect with greater and greater clarity that which they've seen or heard on that other plane during sleep. If we speak of a man as rising from one plane or subplane to a different, we don't think of him as necessarily moving in space at all, but instead as transferring his consciousness from one level to another, bit by bit becoming unresponsive to the vibrations of one order of matter, and beginning instead to answer to those of a higher and more refined order, so that one world with its scenery and inhabitants would appear to fade slowly out of his view, while a different world of a more elevated character would get through. We must mention first that every material object, every particle even, has its astral twin, and this counterpart is itself not a simple body, but is commonly exceedingly complex, being composed of assorted kinds of astral matter. Also, each living creature is surrounded with an atmosphere of its own, commonly called its aura, and in the case of humans this aura forms of itself a really fascinating branch of study. It's seen as an oval mass of luminous mist of extremely complex structure, and from its shape has occasionally been called the auric egg. The universal life fluid as it is absorbed and specialized, as it circulates in rosy light throughout the body, as it eventually radiates from the healthy individual in its altered form, is also perfectly obvious. Most bright and most easily seen of all, maybe, though belonging to a more polished order of matter, the astral, is that aura which expresses by its bright and ever-changing flashes of color the different wants which sweep across the man's mind from moment to moment. This is the true astral body. But to see these, the student must, naturally, have developed the vision to do so. One additional point deserves mention in connection with the appearance of physical matter if viewed from the astral plane, and that's that the higher vision, when amply developed, possesses the power of magnifying at will the minutest physical particle to any wanted size, as if by a microscope, though its magnifying power is hugely greater than that of any microscope ever made or ever likely to be made. It will by this time be obvious that although the average objects of the physical world form the background to life on particular levels of the astral plane, yet so much more is seen of their true appearance and features that the general effect differs widely from that with which we're familiar. For the interest of illustration, take a rock as an illustration of the simpler class of objects. If regarded with trained sight, it's no mere inert mass of stone. Firstly, the whole of the physical matter of the rock is seen rather than a really small part of it. Second, the vibrations of its physical particles are detectable. Third, it's seen to possess an astral twin composed of assorted grades of astral matter, whose particles are likewise in constant motion. Fourth, the universal life is seen to be circling through it and radiating from it. Fifth, an aura will be seen encircling it, though this is naturally much less extended and altered than in the case of the higher realms. Sixth, its appropriate elemental essence is seen penetrating it, ever active but ever vacillating. In the case of the vegetable, animal, and human realms, the complications are naturally much more numerous. An account of the scenery of the astral plane would be incomplete without a little mention of what have frequently, though erroneously, been called the records of the astral light. These records, which are really a sort of materialization of the divine memory, a living photographic representation of all that has ever occurred, are truly and permanently impressed upon a very much higher level, and are only reflected in a more or less spastic manner on the astral plane, so that one whose power of vision doesn't rise above this will be likely to get only occasional and disconnected pictures of the past rather than a coherent narrative. However, nevertheless, these reflected pictures of all sorts of past events are constantly being reproduced in the astral world, and form a crucial part of the surroundings. Having sketched in, however slimly, the background of our picture, we have to now attempt to complete the figures, to describe the dwellers of the astral plane. The immense assortment of these beings makes it extremely hard to arrange and tabulate them. Maybe the most convenient technique will be to divide them into three great classes: the human, the non-human, and the artificial. The human dwellers of the astral plane fall by nature into two groups, the living and the dead, or, to speak more precisely, those who have yet a physical body, and those who haven't. At some point in your life, you'll no doubt have come across the term astral projection. All humans are capable of this act, and if you are curious as to its dynamics, and if it's really conceivable, you first have to comprehend what it is in principle. Simply put, astral projection is the act wherein a human soul is able to depart his or her physical body and travel to another location. The key to successful astral projection lies in two key factors: 1, your power to compose yourself into state of complete relaxation in both brain and body, and 2, your power to tune into the proper astral projection frequencies. This begins with positioning yourself in either of these two positions, 1, seated, or 2, lying down. Or, if neither of the two feel right, then opt for a position between the two that will let you relax and get comfy. Make a conscious effort to release all stress from your body, beginning at your face, then your neck, moving on to your shoulders, then your arms, moving down throughout the remainder of your body. After you've cleared up all tension from your body, the following step is to center on your breathing. Take in a deep breath through your nose and hold it in for numerous counts. Then, expel your breath through your mouth slowly, centering on increasing your state of relaxation. Once you've accomplished a state of relaxation, the following thing to do would be to center on your desire to astral project. Envision leaving your physical body, and exploring your environment with your astral self. Leave behind all concerns and apprehensions with reference to leaving your physical self behind, and center on the experience. By utilizing this, you might or might not be successful on your first attempt, so don't be frustrated if you don't successfully switch your consciousness to your astral body. Simply keep practicing, and you will eventually be able to master the process. While you astral travel, you'll go through a feeling much like flying through the air, while you're asleep. This flying sensation is the way by which the astral body moves along the astral plane. It's elementary to do. Before going to sleep, you ought to think about where you wish to go and what you wish to do, while your body is asleep. Your subconscious mind and astral body work to fulfill that which you want. Your experiences of astral travel are really the dreams you are able to remember. It's a worthwhile investment to keep a dream journal to put down your dreams. You may do this when you wake in the middle of the night as well as when you first get up in the morning. Make sure to write down as much as you may remember of these dreams. Even if they don't make much sense to you, write them down anyhow. Shortly, they'll make sense to you. In general, the advantages of astral travel include a better sense of your spirituality and your connection to the remainder of the universe. This will lead to a higher sense of well-being and a feeling of inner peace. Astral travel may likewise better your memory and boost your level of creative thinking. Astral travel has this advantage because it utilizes a part of the brain which doesn't get a lot of stimulation while we're awake. You'll likewise find your psychic abilities sharpened. Regular astral travelers have stated that their precognition, telepathy and power to sense the presence of spirits all become heightened. If you astral travel, you utilize untapped psychic energies and cause your psychic powers to bloom. There are even skeptics who didn't believe in astral projection or astral travel who formulated a sense of seeing and reading the auras of other people. For many people, learning and practicing astral travel and astral projection provides them a wonderful fresh freedom that they've never experienced previously. Astral travel makes going any place you want and doing anything you like really possible. Possibly you wonder why more individuals don't enjoy the practice of astral travel since it furnishes some really great benefits to everybody. The answer is simple as it may be discovered in the fact that a lot of people wrongly assume that only those who are gifted may astral travel. To the contrary, astral travel is a natural-born ability, anybody may do it. More than likely you've astral traveled yourself without even recognizing you were doing it. In order to acquire the advantages of astral travel experiences is to know consciously that you're doing it. You must then utilize control over what your astral body does while projecting. Luckily, there are a lot of talented individuals have written books or made videos that are very resourceful for you, while you learn how to astral project. Remember, this is a natural capacity, everyone may do it. All the same, many individuals have forgotten how to do this. You simply need to remind yourself and fine-tune your innate astral travel potentiality.